You were a YG trainee? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. I realize a lot of people who are on this platform of mine don't really know the whole lore, or I guess about my background in general, which is totally valid. So let me tell you about the whole spiel. Hi, this is Editing Denise again. I didn't put a disclaimer for this video, I realized, but I didn't really think I needed to put a disclaimer because I am talking about my life. However, I'm just gonna put a disclaimer anyways, just on the off chance. This is not targeting anybody. This is just my story and basically my timeline and my career, if anybody cared. If you don't, then feel free to skip this video and I'll let you know when I have like the hot tea next time. Let's move on to the video. At this point, I think I'll just formally introduce myself. Hi, my name is Denise. I'm 23 and I'm a student slash singer-songwriter who also used to be an idol. I was a trainee for about 3 years and this was between different companies. But my K-pop career basically started when I was around 13, 14, when I was casted for a little show called K-pop Star. If you're not familiar, K-pop Star is basically one of the OG survival shows. This is pre-produced, pre-whatever else they have now, I guess. And it wasn't a show making idols, it was just a singing competition. I did not speak a lick of Korean. I was a baby with a flannel and a dream. And it ended up going much better than I had anticipated, where I ended up being within the top 10 of the show when it ended. And after the show, I got called by a few companies, one of them being YG. So I ended up joining the company and became a trainee for about 2 years. This is something that I've been meaning to clarify for a very long time. I did not train with Pink Punk or Blackpink. Whenever I entered the company, that was literally a week before Blackpink debuted. So I was not in that lineup. I was not even like in that vicinity. Also, again, I was like 14, 15, so it didn't add up. I've seen a lot of people spreading rumors, I guess, that I was a part of the Blackpink lineup and was removed for whatever reason, or just a lot of other things. That was not the case. I would see them around and that was about it, but otherwise, like, I didn't train with them. So just to clarify, I've been in a few internet scandals because of this. People basically took what I said out of context. It's not the case. I'm saying it publicly here. Moving forward, I was a trainee for 2 years in YG, and this is kind of where my K-pop career began. I didn't know anything about K-pop or what I was training towards. I just thought I was there to learn. I wasn't there with the intention of debut, and I did not know what an idol was. So whenever they would talk about that, I just kind of didn't really understand what that meant. My time as a trainee is basically what taught me about, oh, this is what the idol life is. This is what idols do. This is also where I learned all my Korean. Singing, dancing lessons is also where I significantly focused on a lot of dancing as opposed to singing, which is what I did for most of my life. It was during this time where most of my training really took place. I improved a lot, found my skills, found my style. After the 2 years, my contract ended and I decided to depart from the company. Let's say about a year after I stopped being a trainee at YG, I got in contact with a company, which is the company that I debuted under. And it was under that company that I trained for about 1 more year with my members until we debuted. And then from here, I'm pretty sure most y'all know the story. After debut, I was an idol for about 2 years. I would say I was an active idol for about a year to a year and a half, with the rest of the 6 months being me on hiatus, to which my contract then ended, which brings us here to the present day. And I've gotten a lot of questions saying, oh, it's been 2 years, why are you suddenly choosing to do these videos now? To be honest, it's just the fact that I wasn't ready to for a very long time. Also, the lore stops here, like my background and stuff stops now, so if you want to stop watching, because I'm just gonna kind of talk about other stuff. For y'all still listening, I understand that if you were a fan of mine from my previous career, that it was really hard to kind of go without answers, and I do feel bad that those aren't answers that I can provide right now. There are just going to be some things that are strictly business that I can't openly speak about because it's not just involving me. But those 2 years that I did not talk about it, it was really rough for me. I had at that point lost not only my job, but the job that I had been working towards for so many years and spent so much of my youth working towards. So it was really difficult for me to come to terms with it and just be okay with what had happened. And I just wasn't ready to talk about it because I hadn't really fully processed it up until now. Now I can confidently say that I'm in a place in my life where I feel very comfortable and I feel very okay. I get a lot of comments or responses to my videos now saying like, oh, get over it, what's past is past, move on kind of stuff. I think if anyone's allowed to talk about that stuff, it's me. Because if I had to go through all of that, then I might as well have something to show for it. And for me, I realized that's giving insight about the K-pop industry and wanting to change things about it. The main reason why I became a music business major in college and the reason why I'm so interested in it is because I've seen not only me, but other friends, other artists I know get screwed over so many times. I just want to make sure that doesn't happen again. And also, I just kind of want to remind that idols are also people. I've seen so much toxicity in K-pop. I honestly think that people get way too comfortable on the internet. It just gets so out of hand. The main thing that I would just hope that people gain from my videos is insight and just a little bit of context, because I can't speak for everybody, but what I can say is to just kind of use your critical thinking before you start typing up nasty things. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope this clarified where I come from. I felt like this would be helpful to anyone watching the videos because I get a lot of questions about the same things. Leave me more questions below and I'll see what I can do. Bye! How do you find a job after leaving idol life behind? This was a really good question that I wanted to answer. Being an idol is a job. After your life as an idol ends, you have to find other ways to make money and live. Everyone's favorite disclaimer time. This is not applicable to everybody. This is just speaking from my knowledge and my experience. Honestly, it depends on your skill set and also other things that you are able to do, whether it be social skills, connections, talent, like vocals, dancing. In my case, during my career, I wasn't super big or like relevant, to be honest. Definitely wasn't small, but it wasn't like as big. So after my career ended, I ended up having to look for jobs. I was 21 when I ended up having to basically go into the real world, and I was still living in Korea. I started off with a very normal kind of subtle job. I worked at a coffee shop for a bit as a barista. I also worked as kind of like a bartender. And I also took up freelance jobs here and there, whether it was translating English, and then I also taught English in general. I was a 21-year-old with a high school degree, but after my career ended, I just kind of started taking up little odd jobs because I needed to support myself. I needed to start paying my own rent. I needed to start paying for my bills. This is where the very common pipeline comes in, where ex-entertainers will become content creators or influencers. I stumbled into being a content creator, to be honest. I basically got a job, like a small one from a friend of mine, and I was paid for it. And I was kind of like, you can get paid for this? I didn't know. Like, I had just been doing that shit for free. And then as time passed and I started doing other little jobs here and there on my content platforms, I realized that this is pretty good. Definitely not stable income, but it's income nonetheless, which is more than I could say for my career. But basically what your idol life or entertainment life becomes is just something that's on your resume. And I would say the business world, or like the real world, it's helpful sometimes, especially in terms of like media relations, communications, and like advertising and things like that. But if I want to get like a law degree, no one's gonna really look at my resume and think like, oh, we should hire her because she used to dance on a stage. I would say, however, since it's not a very common job on a person's resume, it can help you, but for the most part, you're applying to jobs like normal. The way that I got a lot of the odd jobs that I did get, for example, writing English lyrics for different people and also songwriting, also features. I got a lot of those from connections that I had made while I was in the industry. So basically what I would do was whenever I went to shows or programs or things like that, if there was someone that I felt I was really interested in the work that they did or they were really like cool, I would usually get their contact and then I would hang out with them outside of work. There's also a lot of aspects of the industry that I was really curious about. Whenever I would meet someone who was working in that area, I would usually meet with them and ask them if they'd be interested in like talking to me about it. And a lot of the times they're pretty open to that idea, so I would take time and like talk to them. And in that way it was very helpful to me because it would give me insight. And in that way now naturally we would just get to know each other, and they would get to know about what I do and my skill set and my areas of work. And from there, every now and then they would just hit me up and be like, hey, I have this job, or we need someone for this, would you be interested in doing it? I would usually just be like, yeah, like that's great experience, that would be awesome. The music industry is no different than any other industry, where a lot of the times jobs and the things that you get are through connections. The world revolves around relationships, and that way, I guess, for lack of better words, the more people you know, the more chances you have. I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of what I was doing subconsciously was networking. A lot of times that's just kind of what got my foot in the door for a lot of these job opportunities. Through this, they would introduce me to somebody else, and I would do a job for them, and then they would like what I do, then they would introduce me to somebody else, and then it just kind of goes on and on. Most of the things that I just mentioned is jobs in relation to the entertainment industry, and that's if the person wants to continue working in that area. I think the most common thing that we see though with ex-idols or ex-performers is that they lean towards the content platforms. In this way, people already know them, and people who know them are really interested in what they do in their lives. And content creation is a direct way to be able to communicate with them while also simultaneously doing a job, especially if it's someone who excels in like YouTube or creativity or things like that. Like for me, my kind of niche is singing videos, and sometimes I'll do a dancing video, but for the most part it was the singing videos because I'm a singer and that's what I do. At that point, if you have an audience and you have a platform, that's actually what a lot of these brands are looking for. So at that point, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're on social media like you would be anyways, but you're just getting paid for it. In this way, I think it makes for a smoother transition. It makes it easier for a lot of ex-entertainers to go on with their lives. Because most of the times, they're not really planning on being a content creator forever. They're just kind of doing it for the time being. But I do know some people that are really good at it and actually really enjoy it. And if that's what they like doing and they're passionate about it, then they just kind of go for that route, which I also think is great. After my career ended, I was really lost for a while. I didn't really know what I was gonna do and what I wanted to do at that point because it happened so suddenly. But the transition was very interesting because then I had to make my own resume and I had to start putting myself out there in different ways. I was very lucky and grateful to be able to have worked with some really great people. Because of that, it translated into my career after my idol career. I realized there's so much to life than just your job. My friend told me this last year just in passing, and I don't think they realized how big of an impact it had on me, which is your job is not your life. You can love your job and make your whole life revolve around it, but when it comes down to it, you need time to step back and you need to do other things. Have hobbies, have friends, meet people, you know? It is really important having that social aspect because no man is an island. If it weren't for a lot of the people that I had met during my time in the industry, I wouldn't be able to be doing what I do now. In an industry where everything was so cutthroat in a way, it was really refreshing and it gave me a lot of hope when I realized that there were people out there that wanted to advocate for me and really wanted me to do well, and it wasn't just that they always wanted something from me. It's similar, I would say, as any transition in life where if you have a job and you get laid off or you just leave that job in general, there's kind of a recoup period where you figure out what it is that you really want to do. For me, I decided to pursue higher education. I was really unsure about that decision for a while and I kind of stalled for a bit. I was still unsure even whenever I got here, but I'm really happy with my decision, and in that way allowed me to find the areas that I'm very passionate about. Going into the industry at such a young age, I felt like my lifespan was so short in terms of marketability and things like that, since they do debut younger people. But it was after I got out of the industry that I realized that I'm not old. Like at all. I'm actually pretty young. A lot of it's just a self-discovery period, and from there it's different for every person where it'll take a different amount of time for them to figure out what they want to do. For me, I think I'm kind of finally in a place where I can say with a little bit of confidence that I found that. I do a lot of different things. Like I'm a student, and then I sing and I release my own stuff. I write for other people, and I also do content. So I hope this was helpful to anyone that was curious. I think I covered a lot of topics in this one, but I really wanted to answer this question because I thought it was really interesting. Also, I recently uploaded a full version of one of these videos on my YouTube channel, which is at Denise Kim Sings. I wanted to do these videos on YouTube because I wanted to do them on a platform where I didn't have to cut so much of what I say out. A lot of times when I film these videos, I actually end up cutting out maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. My videos average at around like 6 minutes. That's still pretty long. So at that point, so much that I feel is equally as important gets overlooked. So if you like these videos and you're interested and you want basically the whole spiel instead of just this Spark Notes version, then go check out my YouTube channel and leave me comments here and there that you have. And if I can answer them, then I'll do my best to get to them when I can. Thank you so much for watching. Much love. Bye! Did you actually like doing some parts of your job? This is not a stupid question, by the way. This is actually a very good one. I think in these videos, people tend to take K-pop in a very negative light, when in reality, it's a fun job. There are definitely downsides to it, yes, but overall, there are a lot of parts of the job that I did like. I know y'all are sick and tired of hearing this, but disclaimer, this is not targeting anybody. This is genuinely me speaking from my experience, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all before. Contrary to popular beliefs, I actually really did love my job, and I look back on it very fondly as a chapter in my life that was really, really fun and helped me grow and learn a lot. I know I've spoken before about the fact that I had no intention of being an idol. When I was young, all I really wanted to be was a singer and a performer, and being an idol gave me the opportunity to do that. There were parts of it that were really difficult, but for the most part, I really did enjoy it. I got to perform most of the times, and that was so much fun for me, especially if it was songs that I actually liked performing. I loved performing and I enjoyed practicing. I liked filming the music videos. It was basically my dream. I didn't ever really regret my decision of becoming an idol because it just allowed me to do everything that I wanted to do. Every time I went on stage, I had the mentality of wanting to give the best performance that I possibly could. And I really do believe that I did. I did the best that I could, and I really, really enjoyed it. Because in the end, that's what being an idol did for me. It made my dream of being a performer come true. And I was very grateful to the people who I was able to work with, because not only were we able to have that dream come true together, we were also supporting each other, and in that way it was really fun. I was a very lucky case where I was able to debut with people that I really enjoyed being with, and it was a really great time for the most part. In all relationships, there are disagreements and also conflict sometimes, but for the most part, we basically became a family, and that's something that will never change for me. I debuted during the time of the pandemic, however, so if there's one thing that I did find a bit, what's ashiwo in English, like bittersweet, is that I never got to perform in front of a live audience. Loved communicating with fans and fan calls and all these other opportunities that allowed me to feel closer to you guys. And even though as an idol I got a lot of hate, which I still do now, and it's not that big of a deal anymore, I did get a lot of love, and that was something that I really prioritized seeing more than anything. And experiencing that immense amount of love and knowing that there were people out there who supported me and really wanted me to do well, and I was really grateful for it nonetheless. There were definitely some parts of the career that I struggled with. That was just me personally. Maybe it was just something that I wasn't the best at, but for the most part, I got to sing and dance, and I got to perform, and I got to communicate with fans. So in that way, what's not to like? I'm not really the type of person who wants to allow the negative to outweigh the positive, or at least I definitely try to have that mentality. With every job, there's pros and cons, and there were a lot of pros for me, and I think that I was very, very blessed to have been able to train and debut, which is something that a lot of people aren't actually able to do, and also to have their debut do as well as mine did. And although there were a lot of times that was just really exhausting and taxing on my physical and mental being, I would try to maintain the mentality of this is a blessing and this is an experience and an opportunity that not many people get to have. So I did my best to not take it for granted. With the fact that my career was so short, I think that for what it was, I was really grateful that I was able to have that opportunity nonetheless. And because I was part of a team that I got along with, it made me feel reassured that I was never really alone. And because of that, there was always someone to celebrate our wins with and also, in a way, grieve our losses. It's kind of like when you have siblings and your parents are acting up, you just kind of go and you talk about it to each other because who else is going to understand you better than your siblings? It was very much very similar in that way, and I think it created a bond that isn't something that is very easily broken, in my case at least. And at that point, it's kind of like whenever you and your family members all move out, you still keep in touch. You may not talk all the time, but you still support each other nonetheless. That was very much the experience that I was able to derive from it that I don't think I would have been able to get anywhere else. It was a different kind of pressure to feel like someone was always kind of watching you in a way, but it's also really helpful because you feel like there's always people that are willing to watch you and want to support you, which is kind of the other side of the coin that I always try to keep in mind. But going out and being able to do things to make people laugh, to sing and bring people joy and have people really enjoy your performances as kind of step away from their own lives and something that makes them happy. That's something to me that was indispensable, and I loved knowing that what I was doing to an extent made a difference. There's a lot as an idol that you give up, but I think there's also a lot that you gain as well. Also gave me the opportunity to meet a ton of really great people that I would never have met otherwise. Was there a lot of stuff that I went through when I was in the industry? For sure. But was there also a lot that I gained and learned? Most definitely. In the end, I really did love my job, and it was super fun for the time that it was. There were a lot of hardships, yeah, but what job doesn't have that? I know on this platform, I tend to kind of talk about, for lack of better words, the dark side of K-pop. But I thought that this question would be a really good way for me to talk about how it is a dream. And in that way, K-pop allows a lot of people like me, their dreams to come true. There's definitely some things about it that I feel could be better, but nothing in the world is really perfect. I do think that I was a more lucky case where I went into it and came out of it both very gracefully and was able to be surrounded with really good people. Like I said earlier, I was able to do a job that I loved doing. So that was the video for today. Leave me any other questions you have below, and much love. Bye!